Pablo Picasso, one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, was a co-creator of an artistic movement that brought a revolution to the world of art: cubism. Picasso's first artistic endeavors took place under the guidance of his father, Don José Ruiz y Blasco, an amateur painter and art teacher. It was with his father that he developed his drawing skills, and at the age of 8 he produced his first painting titled The Bullfighter. After a decade of residing in Malaga, Picasso's father received an offer to teach in Coruna, taking the whole family with him in 1891. Even after the move, the father continued to instruct young Picasso, who quickly surpassed his master at the age of 13. Unfortunately, the loss of his sister due to diphtheria occurred when the painter was only 14, leading them to settle in Barcelona. It was in this city that Pablo managed to enroll in an art school, and his talent stood out from the beginning. This painting is called Science and Charity and was painted in 1897 when he was 16 years old. When he was 16 years old, he dedicated himself to the study of art and established friendships with other notable artists such as Manuel Palares, Carlos Casagemas, and Jaime Sabartes. In 1897, he decided to move to Madrid to improve his skills at the prestigious Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando, the most renowned institution in the country in this field. It was during this period that he became enchanted with the works of great art masters, such as Diego Velázquez, Francisco Goya, El Greco, and Caravaggio, even reproducing their creations during his visits to the Prado Museum. The portrait of the artist's mother, created when he was still a teenager, highlights the classical influences present in his art. At just 19 years old, possessing a certain mastery in the art of painting, the young artist chooses to move to Paris during a vibrant period for art in France. There he faces precarious living conditions, relying on the help of friends. The Impressionist aesthetic, which was in vogue at that moment, exerts a great fascination over the artist, as evident in his work titled The Flower Vendor, painted in 1901. In 1901, Picasso's friend named Carlos Casagemas attempted to kill a woman he loved. He was unsuccessful and subsequently took his own life in Paris. This event had a profound impact on Pablo, leading him into an artistic phase that became known as the Blue Period. During this period, his paintings reflected the sorrow he was experiencing. He was financially struggling, had lost one of his closest friends, and was feeling deeply sad. His artworks took on blue-green hues and portrayed thin and dejected individuals. In 1904, the painter emerged from his dark phase and entered a more joyful and lively period in his life. Now his paintings frequently feature feminine figures and circus themes, with warmer colors such as orange and pink. During this time, the painter made a lifelong friend in Gertrude Stein and fell in love with the bohemian artist Fernanda Olivier. Between 1905 and 1907, inspired by his muse and other artists, he began to experiment with what would later be called cubism. A famous portrait of Gertrude Stein, painted between 1905 and 1906, already shows cubist elements in her face. Between the years 1907 and 1909, Picasso went through a period known by some scholars as the Black Period, where African sculptures and masks had a significant influence on his works. During this time, there were exhibitions of African objects throughout Europe, aiming to showcase the primitivism of colonized black countries. However, instead of adhering to the classic European Impressionism, many artists became fascinated with this new form of expression. A notable painting from this phase was Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, painted in 1907, which was considered Picasso's first major work and a clear demonstration of African influence in his art. In it, two women are portrayed with faces resembling gelade masks, featuring distorted eyes and faces with two-dimensional lines. This painting is recognized as one of the most innovative in the history of modern art. In 1909, the French artist Georges Braque and the famous Spanish painter Pablo Picasso worked together to create the artistic movement called cubism. At that time, Picasso was 29 years old and already well known. The analytic cubism, the first phase of the movement from 1909 until 1912, was characterized by neutral colors, mainly browns and geometric shapes. An example of this phase can be seen in the painting Girl with a Mandolin, created in 1910. After came synthetic cubism, around 1912 to 1919. At this time, the artist began to use pieces of paper glued to their paintings, which was something very important for the history of art. The main idea was to mix or combine different forms, and the colors were more vibrant and decorative. Below is the painting called The Guitar, painted in 1913. After visiting Italy around 1917, Pablo started incorporating homages to the neoclassical style into his paintings. Next came the period of chaos during the First World War, when the painter created his most famous work, Guernica, in 1937, depicting the horrors of the Spanish Civil War, especially the German attack on the city with the same name as the painting. Unlike what was common at that time, Picasso did not want to portray the war in a romantic or realistic way, but rather he gave a surreal and cubist touch to the artwork to convey a powerful political message. When he was older, around the 1940s, Picasso decided to experiment with new forms of art, creating sculptures, ceramics, and poetry. During this period, he painted the famous work Dora Maar with Cat in 1941, portraying one of his lovers. Furthermore, he also dedicated himself to studying painters like Diego Velázquez. He produced 58 paintings to analyze the work of this artist, focusing especially on the painting Las Meninas from 1656. The painting you see here is part of that collection and was painted in 1957.